Dude, I thought I already told you. You're not getting any lore. We're playing Fortnite today. That's right. No lore for you. No lore for you, my dude. Oh, no. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Oh, no lore for you, my dudes. No, I'm joking. Hi, hello everybody. How are we? Good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. Hope you're well, hope you're swell. Welcome to the stream. We are talking all things Secret Life and my watcher listener lore that I've been doing on the sidelines this whole time and just sort of vibing out. So there you go. I'm going to very quickly refresh my little restream program because I should be able to get the YouTube chat up here as well. Unless what I do is I go to my panel and just do it that way instead. Because I can sort of bounce back and forth between the two of them. I feel like that's better. So, welcome. How are we all? First and foremost, what did we think to the end of Secret Life? Not my POV. My POV was doo-doo. But, in general, to the series as a whole finishing up. And have people decided, I guess, one, on what Scar, like the winners, I mean, I've said it now, what Scar's, like, official title is. You know, like they were doing, like, the whole, like, sun, moon, all that sort of stuff. And then it seems as though I've noticed when I've been looking on Tumblr that they seem to have been able to decide what Scars is really quickly, but mine is still very much up in the air. It's like sun, earth, moon, and whatever that guy is. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting. But yeah, there just seems to be loads going around. There seems to be so many different ones. Nice. But yeah, so there you go. Right, so let's talk lore. So let me just quickly recap what we're going to be doing today for those of you that are unfamiliar. So if you don't know, from my perspective of the Life series, I've been running an alternate universe, like an AU. The reason we've classified it as one of those is because there was a lot of people in the community that were upset that they felt as though I was trying to dictate what the watchers and listeners are, how they behave, all that sort of stuff. And it's like, no, I've never said anywhere. Like, I've never gone to someone's post and said, this is actually wrong, and actually, glasses push. Like, I've never done that once, but I think it's just people who are unnecessarily volatile on Tumblr and things like that. So we just sort of made that classification a while ago that my story, the one that I've been portraying from the last moments of Third Life, a lot through Last Life, and I don't think it was present in... Was it present in Limited and Double? It definitely wasn't in Double. I think it snuck in... Oh, no, of course, we had the big ending at the end of Limited Life. Where we did that big, you know, finale outro bit. And then, of course, it's not been present during Secret Life, and a few people have wondered why. So that is probably the best way to go about things. So the premise of my story, for those of you that are unaware so far, to keep it as simple as possible, is in my telling of events, we were in the Minecraft Evo series, and the Watchers took Grian to become a Watcher alongside them, and then the listeners didn't agree with that decision, and they decided that they were going to go against the Watchers, or at least the two that they were aware of, and basically try to help us flee the world that the Watchers had created, basically. So there was the listeners and the Watchers. The Watchers were sort of a personification, or like a, you know, an influence of what, you know, kind of breaking the fourth wall was the audience. The audience were technically the Watchers. I've obviously taken it down a more sinister path, because now that we're playing in these death games that constantly repeat, that is basically where the Watchers come into it, because the Watchers are the ones making us play these games over and over again. So there's a lot of concepts in here that people will ask inside of their questions today and stuff like that. And I just want you to be aware that there are previous lore talks about everything. The simple thing of why the Watchers do this is because they enjoy negative emotions. They can feed on all emotions, but they find negative emotions particularly easy to elicit from people as well as consume. And basically the idea with the Life series, or Traffic Life series as we call it, which is, you know, third, last, limited, double, secret, is basically that they add in a new curve curveball each time to make things really serious and intense and scary, and those are all things that they like to gobble up. And they don't erase the memories after each life run, but they do take away those emotions. So people have the memories, but not necessarily the anger, betrayal, hurt, whatever it may be that comes with them, if that makes sense. So kind of going from the beginning of Secret Life is probably the best place to begin. I've basically asked everybody if they have moments or concepts from this series that they want to ask me a question about. We can figure it out together, because I'm going to put it out there now that I've not really thought about lore that much this season, because when Grian first showed me the Secret Keeper, the statue, obviously I immediately looked at it and went, Watcher logo? Or like very close to, it's kind of similar. And he went, and I was like, are you doing anything with that this season then? And he was like, no, he's like, I don't really want to touch it. Like, I just wanted something there. And it kind of, through that conversation, I was getting very strong vibes that he would rather I didn't. So I just sort of said, if you don't want me to do anything, that's cool. I've never really done anything particularly in world anyway. Like, the closest I've gotten to doing something in world is when I did the Shadow Clan, but even then the Shadow Clan still works as its own thing inside of the series, you know what I mean? Like, I've never uttered the words watcher or listener inside of the series in world to the other players. I've only ever done this in post-production, or allowed it to influence my decisions on who I attack, who I kill, what I build, where I go, who I align with, all that sort of stuff. So it's really kind of no different. I guess I could have done it through Secret Life, but I felt like this time it'd be good to just like not think about it and then basically tackle it in this live stream post-season and have that discussion from there. Is basically where my head's at. So that is basically the premise of today's live stream. So yeah, I didn't want to make anybody feel uncomfortable, but I do want to still make it fit and work within my eyes and ears AU. Eyes and ears is basically the hashtag that I use on Tumblr, so people are able to find it easily, and they can tag their thoughts and their theories around my specific AU. I know there's a million different watcher listener ones, and I think it's kind of one of those things where people think there must be one established like canon one, but there really isn't. Grian's not touched the watchers since, you know, Evo. I've only picked it up from Third Life onwards. So really there is no canon one. So I do get a lot of questions in my inbox being like, do you think this person's a listener? Do you think that person's a listener? And I guess kind of just to, you know, sort of preface this now, in my version in the AU, the only person who is a watcher or a listener is Grian. Everybody else are just like players and victims in this whole thing. I think there's always like, I think people always wonder if in my story whether that's the case, but it's not. The watchers are watching us all play. The listeners are constantly trying to disrupt that and free these players. Grian is a watcher, but appears to have gone somewhat rogue away from the two that we know of from the end of Evo. Because I think he decided to join their ranks but didn't necessarily like them. Aside from the listeners, I've always joked that there are the speakers, because I like going down the narrative of the whole hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil. And that's still maybe a concept that I'm going to go into. There is also another entity or another a body or disembodied group called the Council, who in my head I'm imagining that the two watchers that are causing all of this, I always imagine the Council as being where they originated from, where the two watchers that control the Traffic Life series originally came from. So that's that. And whether the listeners work on behalf of the Council or whether the listeners are also an entirely separate party that maybe also spliced off from the Council, I don't know. This is the thing. So with this, just to kind of make people very aware if they've not caught one of these streams before, I'm making a lot of this story up as I go along, and there'll be the occasional bit of retconning, but we've not had to do any super serious retconning so far, which has been nice. We've been able to just like straight up just, you know, straight up just make everything fit. And I think, again, similar to my VTuber lore, which is connected to all of this, but we still don't know quite how. I know, but you don't know. I like to put as few restrictions and rules in place as possible so we have ultimate flexibility moving forwards. You know what I mean? So that's that. So let's take it from the top, I guess. And some of this I'll be asking you what you think should be canon to my story, and then some things will just be straight up answering questions. So throw questions in the chat and I will just like pick random ones and we will just go from there with it. We'll just rock and roll with it. What do you want to know? What story elements or story beats do you think? Oh man. Probably what I'll do is right, on in a minute. Okay, if I scroll and stop there and scroll and stop there, we've got a few initial questions. I saw one here actually. Where was it? It was that was it. What's the canonical reason that Jimmy recognized the secret keeper? Honestly, so I've actually seen this concept come up a few times, is that some people have asked why is that me and Timmy recognize, say, the Watcher logo, but we don't necessarily remember that Grian is a Watcher himself. And I think probably if you would agree, probably the simplest and cleanest way of cutting this is that the Watchers choose to not remove memories in the Traffic Life series, but they've allowed people to retain memories even from Evo and stuff like that. And in my head, I'm just thinking that basically one of the only times they've plucked a memory away from the players that used to be in Evo is basically the fact that Grian became a Watcher, if that makes sense. So in my head, I think it's just, they just took that one bit of information they didn't want to give. Like, Grian shouldn't be in these games, but he's managed to get in with the use of his powers. And I think basically the Watchers to the Traffic series characters has simply just removed that one little nugget of information that Grian was taken to be a Watcher out of the equation. So they can take memories when they feel like, but they often don't. So that's kind of what I've been thinking with that this whole time. It's I wouldn't call it a plot hole, but it's just a fair enough question. So yeah, so we've got that. So that's my thought on it. I think that's a pretty simple patch, right? You know, they pluck that one memory away, everything else retains. They still only emotions for the most part, and jobs are good. And so okay. So Canary curse broken, right? Well, I mean, technically, yes, right? Maybe that's the big one. Maybe that's one that we tuck into straight away. So I'm basically gonna have a Google Doc that I'm filling in this entire time. So, the memory of Grian becoming a Watcher has been taken from the Life series players. They remember him in the Evo server, but not a whole lot else. I guess if he did he just vanish one day? Would that be the way to do it? So if they don't remember that he became a Watcher, do you reckon they put in like a faux memory in the players' heads to say he just went through the portal with the listeners to get out of there? Or is it just a case of he went into his end fight and never came out, and he's just lost to the aether? I kind of like the idea of him just maybe they think in their head that Grian just died to the dragon. He didn't win his fight. He was like the only player to not succeed. I kind of like how tragic that sounds. So hold on, wait. I'll just put a big in bold: lost or died to dragon ? Nice. I like that. How long is the doc? I'm writing into it as we go today. Like, so this is a fresh document for today's chit chat. So yeah, there you go. Right then, okay, let's talk about Timmy then and the Canary curse. So obviously the Canary curse, for those of you unfamiliar, is basically the theory, which I love, and it's great, and it's basically the explanation as to why Timmy has always died first every time. So if you don't know, a canary bird, I think maybe even somewhat in modern times, but we have better technologies now, but certainly in old times, when they used to go down into the mines, they would use a canary bird because of its lung capacity and its sensitivity, where if there was a gas leak when you were deep beneath the earth, if the canary died and stopped singing or just simply keeled over, you knew that there was some form of leak and you had to get out of there immediately. So it was always basically a signifier of death to come. And the fact that Timmy has always been out first every season is kind of going along that same straight. He's not necessarily the first to die in each season, but he's always been the first to die and go out the series until Secret Life. So yeah, so that's different. I'm crying. He's still a canary. Him dying is still a significant sign that things are about to go down. Yeah, this is true. This is true. So, like, how do we want to go about this? Like, do we decide that the canary curse is potentially still in place and that this was a wobble? That this was a fluke? Like, I've seen loads of artwork where people show things like the Watchers pushing, you know, Timmy off of high ledges and stuff so he dies and things like that. That, I mean, in my eyes and ears story, the fact that the listeners were able to disrupt proceedings at the end of Limited Life with the body swapping, with me winning, all that sort of stuff, it could be that that tug of war between the two sides, listeners and watchers, is still happening, and that through that, they weren't able to uphold one of their ongoing curses, one of their ongoing issues. Or one of their ongoing, you know, themes, if that makes sense. So that could just be proof that the Watchers didn't go, oh, what are you guys doing here? Like, get out of here, shoo, shoo, shoo. There's actually still a constant conflict and a tug of war, which is why we had Ren in Tango. Like, there are still these weird otherworldly disruptions that are happening, and it's messing with the foundations and what is supposed to be the norm for each life cycle or each life series. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Lizzie died in the void. Did she? How did Lizzie die again? Let me see. Let me pull this up on YouTube. LD Shadow Lady. I remember, all I remember is that Scott was trying to kill her in the end. Let me see. Where is it? Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, I got a really slow pan here. Oh, no, it was Lizzie was trying to kill Scott. That was it. Ah. I love you see the Enderman keel over there. That's really funny. You know what's really funny about that as well? I was joking before about how Lizzie's poem to Joel, where she says, like, what was it? Make sure you hold shift when you enter a rift or whatever. How ironic is it that that's how she died? I thought about it from my POV and was like, oh god, like, you know, that sucks that that's the way that I went out. But actually, that works kind of well from Lizzie's perspective as well. How do we go about this? How do we decide what we're going to do with this? I like the idea that the Canary Curse is still the Watcher's intentions, but it has been disrupted this time, and if it helps next time, then it means that the Watchers have maybe clawed back a bit of the control, or at the very least they've decided to focus again on ensuring that occurs. Or do we have it that the Canary Curse is now broken? It's a big one. It's a big one. Because there was also the stuff going around about how me punching Timmy caused me to be the first red and also the first the first yellow and the first red. So was it a case of I took on some residual Canary Curse that season? I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think disrupting the Canary Curse will leave us in a more neutral position where it can go any way next season. But straight up ending the curse would then mean that if then he does die then first next season, then we've almost then got to retcon that. You know what I mean? It almost feels like we're setting ourselves up for failure. I like the idea that maybe because there are still disruptions happening from the listeners, that maybe the Canary Curse isn't broken, it's just simply been thwarted this time. I think I want to go with that. I think that's where my head's at. I think to avoid any contradictions later on, I think that's the safest bet. So, okay, let's go for that. So, Canary curse is not broken. I mean, okay, wait, hold on. So, wait, Canary curse is not broken. It was simply one of the failings of the Watchers on this season's cycle. It demonstrates that there's still a tug of war happening between the Watchers and listeners. Brackets, which would also explain how Ren was able to slip in to the series and embody Tango. Yeah, I like that. Canary curse is just a bad omen in my opinion. Yeah. I mean, maybe it could even be that, like, did I mean to punch Timmy at the start of the series, or was that the listeners guiding my hand and arm and just going bap? You know what I mean? Like doing the quick bop and going like, look, Martyn, you bear the weight of this just for a little while, and then we'll give it back to him. You know what I mean? Like you just take a death or two, and then we'll give it back to Timmy when the time's right. So there is also that part of it as well. There could be just a quick bap. That could be the thing. Why didn't Martyn recognize Ren and Tango's body? Because he looked like Tango and sounded like Tango. He was Tango. It's much like how in the previous season, you know, realistically, nobody recognized each person for being each person. One thing I will point out, by the way, is that obviously we said last time, and I still think it's a cute idea, the fact that Joel still recognized Lizzie regardless of what body she was embodying was really sweet. But Joel, I think that Joel and one other person this season recognized that Ren was in people. And I think that's just one of those things. It's like, I can't control that. Like, I will probably not acknowledge that as like a canon event in my story, or if I wasn't there to witness it, in a way it doesn't happen, right? That's kind of my mindset with that. So like that's just kind of, that's just, yeah. Grian captioned them as Rengo, so maybe who knows too. Ah, interesting. Joel being a god in Empires could have opened his eyes. Maybe. Scott's blessing is broken. Thoughts? Explain Scott's blessing to me. What's Scott's blessing? What's that one? Everyone's doing caps lock. What did I say something weird a second ago? What did I say? Did I say Ren was what? Oh, Scott's allies always winning. Has that been a thing? I'm trying to think back now. That's not been a thing, has it? Was Scott allies with Grian and Scar? Like, they were kind of very much their own faction. Scott allied with Scar and Grian in Third Life. Yeah, but how late in? Because that felt like it was a very late allyship. Or was it during the war? I guess the server was somewhat two sides, wasn't it? Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that. So he allied with Grian and co in the first one. Then in Last Life, he won. He won Last Life, so that's that one. Then obviously they won Double Life, or Pearl won Double Life, but Scott is part of that. Then Limited Life I won. And then wouldn't that be a case? Oh no, because I guess Scott was my ally, right? Because we were the Mean Girls together. Yeah. Oh yeah. I guess I just hadn't ever realised that. I hadn't thought about it. And then obviously this season Scar went on to win, but Scar wasn't really particularly allied with anybody. He was friends with Scar in Secret Life. Yeah. I think there was less ally ships. Like, it felt like all the ally ships, I feel like, you know, like with, say, for example, it was very much Desert Duo, Dogwarts, head-to-head, and then everybody siphoned into each group. I feel like this time around, it still felt very fragmented. I don't feel as though it was particularly just two sides until the very last moment. There was less brewings of it, I think, in Secret Life, or at least from what I witnessed. My problem was I was very out of the loop with everything, because where I got to Red so quickly, I wasn't really invited into any of these groups. You know what I mean? So yeah, interesting. But yeah, so what was it? It was Scott's ally thing is broken. Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I don't think that's really something that I'll incorporate into my story. Obviously, selfishly, my story kind of pertains to more my interactions and my perspective on things. So I don't know if that one, like, that one's not really for me to comment on, if you know what I mean. Like, it's an interesting thing. Like, the only time I've really commented on Scott and stuff is when he refused to participate as the boogeyman in Last Life and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Stuff where it's like watcher influence decisions that Scott goes against is when I've sort of commented on Scott. But aside from that, like, like, that's that. Grian's glitching. Watcher power? So you mean this is when Grian tried to cash in? This is what you're talking about, right? So when Grian tried to cash in a success, it wasn't working, and then he got caught in this weird, like, state between the two. That's a really interesting bit. That's a super interesting bit. Let me note this down. So Grian couldn't cash in a success right away. I like the idea that Grian couldn't cash in a success right away because that tug of war between the listeners and the watchers was literally ongoing, and they simply didn't have enough resources to grant the success. And then when he slipped into this weird void state in between the two, I don't know, there's so many ways we can go with it. Like, was it a case of they were just simply too busy and stretched too thin? Was it the listeners, like, or was it a case of that was them when they ripped him out of that state into that weird spectatory mode with, like, the long arm or whatever else it was? Like, was that the watchers almost finally ousting Grian from that space? You know what I mean? Was that the closest they've come so far to getting rid of the disruptor? Because that's been the sort of the theme the whole time, is that this version of Grian in my story went off with the watchers, learned what they were about, didn't like what they were about, and decided to set off on his own, and has since been working to try and either ease the suffering of the players or to free them, all the while not even being aware really that the listeners are a thing, and they're also trying to come in from another side. Like, they really are sort of getting pincered. Which, by the way, I've only just thought, is that could be a really cool way as to why the logo is symbolic. Hold on. Where's the logo? Where's the logo? Oh, I've got it as the thumbnail, haven't I? Look at this. Where is it? 2023. I love the idea that this here, I love the idea that this is why the logo looks this way. I love the idea that this is the listeners, Grian, and then the two watchers have been forced together. They're having to have a tighter bond to try and ward off the people from disrupting their game. They're trying to close the walls and keep everything tight and together. I kind of like that as an idea. That's a really cool physical representation of the wider games at play. Chat, he's cooking. I like that. I do like that. Yeah, I do enjoy it. My only other, like, so I had already been thinking about the shape of this logo and how it looks and stuff like that. The other thing that I was thinking of previously was whether this was going to be the logo for, like, this here was the logo for the council. So that it used to, sorry, the watchers had their logo, which was the council with the two watchers either side of it. And then the reason this got pushed together is because the two watchers got pushed out of it, and then this looks like this. I mean, what do you prefer? Do you prefer the idea that this is the logo of the council? But then that would mean that the council would be immediately involved, and I don't think I want the council worked into the story just yet. They're still very much a concept. I think I like the one where it just sort of, it's a representation of the Watchers being pincered. I think I like that. I think I like the Grian and listeners encroaching thing. Yeah, let's do that then. Okay, I like that. So hold on, I'll just add this as like an extra note. So the Secret Keeper logo is an in-world representation of the power struggle between the two Watchers, the listeners, and Grian. The two outer dots represent the latter. Cool. I like that. I think that's a cool idea. And it's cool. I like the idea that potentially they were trying to do something more. You know what I mean? I like the idea that the listeners were trying to create another portal of which they could escape through, and the Watchers, as much as they could do, was they managed to stop the portal being created, but there was still some kind of like, you know what I mean, like a petrification that happened there. So they've managed to make a structure in the world, but not quite to what they'd hoped. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Why was Jimmy Ghost a thing? Honestly, that was just them doing a new take on being real evil. So obviously the whole thing this whole time has been that the Watchers just enjoy siphoning off of negative emotions, and there were quite a few that Timmy experienced whilst doing that, like learning that Etho considered Timmy third rank and was last place. That was a real sort of blow and a shock to the system. Also, there's that kind of like FOMO sort of feeling going on there as well, where Timmy's out and usually it's a swift departure. Like he dies, he's first out, and that's it. He sort of like goes into that non-existence for a while until the next game begins. But this time around, he's had to sit there and watch all of his friends kill one another and play things out. Like it's quite a tragic watching through the one-way mirror sort of feeling. But then being able to communicate only with Grian is one, an annoyance for Grian. And like, how perfect is it that like Grian is the only one that could hear Timmy? I mean, we could always tie that in with like Grian caught Timmy and left him in a limbo where he could lean on him for advice. You know what I mean? But then I guess that would then also begin to imply that Grian had some control over the books and all that sort of stuff. See what I mean? It's the snowball effect when you're like theorizing something happens so fast. So fast. Like even just then I felt myself getting ahead of myself and it running away from me. So I have to kind of pull the reins and keep it still. But yeah, I like the idea that basically that was just a tease. I like the idea that the Watchers were just simply teasing Timmy and making him suffer that bit longer. They were like, well, you know what? He didn't go out first, so he's got to do a bit more. We're not satisfied. I kind of like that. I kind of like that the fact that the Canary curse didn't quite yield the anguish that they would usually get. They needed a little extra. They needed an entree, like a second dish. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the simplest way to describe it. Canary curse isn't broken. It was disrupted. And as a result of Timmy not going out first, he was running around the server happy as Larry. Can you imagine how much that would have angered the Watchers if Timmy's running around the server going, oh, I'm not first dead, Lizzie's dead, like ecstatic about it. I like the idea that they kept him around a bit longer just to squeeze out the last bit of, you know, the last bit of sad. Yeah. What exactly is the Secret Keeper? Is it a Watcher, a Listener, or another entity entirely? Hold on a second. Hold on, let me add that bit onto the Canary curse. That's why they made him a ghost, as they were unsatisfied with their feed. Nice, got it. Oh, trying to make that bold. I've opened up a new tab. Cool, got it. What was that? A $2 donation from Taryn said, Secret Keeper equals speaker, question mark. It speaks through the tasks. I don't know if I want to lean into the speakers just yet. I think they can still cook for a bit. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I want to full dive into speakers just yet. I like having this third unknown party that we're not sure. It's something that I think I will do in the future with the lore, but I want it to feel like the right moment, the right implementation of it. Like the idea of them being sort of harbingers and being almost like errand boys for the council is obviously always kind of in my mind. I mentioned it about the listeners earlier on about, do we think the listeners work on behalf of the council trying to thwart the Watchers? But I like the idea that they are also a separate offshoot as well. So yeah, I think for now, speakers we won't touch. No touching speakers for just now. But yeah, I've not actually finished this thought that I had here. So Grian couldn't cash in on a success right away. And why was that? Why didn't Scar die? A lot of people have asked me about this already. I like to think that that was probably the beginning of a really horrible sort of descent into madness for Scar. So basically the game ends, Scar's not even aware that the game had ended initially, and then he presses succeed, and can you just imagine how distraught and how upset Scar is at just whacking that success button over and over, and every time win secret life, win secret life, win secret life, just over and over and over again. Days, nights, what feels like months or years pass, and he's there just whacking that button, just wanting it to either end for himself or for a new game to begin. Like, he is so deep in that loneliness and that kind of like being left in a wasteland that he would rather either die or go into another death game. You know what I mean? He doesn't want to be alone. I think that's where my head has been with that. Initially, I was thinking like, oh, well, they just thunderstruck him 5 minutes after. You know, camera closes and then thunderstruck, but I like the idea that Scar was just left to just stew. Never able to apologize for everything he did. The villain arc had no renewal. You know what I mean? Like, Scar had a particularly strange season, was quite solitary throughout it, and then just in that last moment when he got a bit of allyship and a bit of sort of camaraderie, it was just gone in the space of one night. So that's where my head's with it. So I think I'm going to write that in the document. Scar wins secret life, but is stuck in what feels like a never-ending loop of pressing the button and being given the same task. And anytime he like tries to like just like throw himself into a ravine or like kill himself and stuff like that, he just comes back with half a heart. So every time he comes back, he is an unbelievably fragile version of himself. So he feels physically depleted and emotionally depleted by the end of it. And there'll be months, periods where he just lies there and stares at the sun and the moon as it ticks over, because he knows even if he just walks down a half a block and, you know, snaps his ankles, bam, dead. Just on repeat. So there you go. That's that. Let's see, hold on. Scar wins secret life, but he's stuck in what feels like a never-ending loop of pressing the button and being given the same task. Never given any time to... Oh, wait. He was alone most of the season. And ended up alone. He'd rather death or at least a new death match. And being left in this wasteland. He tries to kill himself, only to respawn on half a heart, and continues on as a wilted version for himself. It's like a fucking IV drip, isn't it? Of emotions. All right, cool. So we've done that. We've done Scar's conclusion, Scar's story. So there we go. Oh, I've missed that message. Where was that? There was a $10 message. Thoughts on Gem? Her being the new player, open the M portal with one eye. What do you mean by with one eye? That reflecting in her yellow and red skins have one bluish eye and being ground zero for Boogie Curse. Ooh. So, Gem's a big question mark, right? So Gem was one of the stand-ins last season, right? Gem came in and embodied Cleo, I want to say. Is it Cleo? Or Pearl? No, it was Cleo. Let me look at this Gem skin. I want to have a look at Gem's skin. Has Gem acknowledged it in her episodes at all? I'd just be intrigued to know what her take on it is. Gemini Tay, here we go. Where's the skin? Here we go, look. So I'm guessing that's red skin, yellow skin, and where's green skin? Where's green skin? Was that the green skin, that one? Oh, she was on her default skin for green. Oh, okay, and then she moves to yellow for this. So is it that there is the eye in the corner there? Because then after that, then she has like one eye that represents the life that she's on, and then it's just her normal eye color for the remainder, isn't it? Because she has that eye color all the time. So when somebody said that she opened the portal with one eye, do you mean as in the portal only needs one eye of Ender in order to open it? Is that what you mean as well? Obviously, there's the stuff to do with her skin. She said she lost an eye to the portal. Does anybody have an episode number and timestamp for that? I want to hear it from her POV. Because it's always fun to try and make other people's stuff work in the story where I can. You know what I mean? Let's have a look. Gemini Tay. Where is it? She told Scott it would have been in 2 or 3. Yeah, that was my guess. A plan to win. Okay, so this one has the portal in it. Easy trick, by the way, if you ever want to do this, chat, is go to more, go to transcript, and then lost. There we go. Right, let me pause this music real quick. There we are.
Sorry,
Hello.
Sorry. It's the pumpkin
I thought you were going
phase,
to the
isn't it?
end.
The man lost 3
The
hearts
end?
before
Why would I go
got
there?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, no.
Oh, wait,
you were
go back a bit more.
Portal for everybody. Whew, okay, nothing to see here. Just a person completing a hard task. Lizzie.
Huh.
Sorry,
Hello.
Sorry. It's the
I
pumpkin
thought you were
phase,
going to
isn't
the
it?
end.
The man lost 3
The
hearts
end?
before
Why would I go
got
there?
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, no.
well, I think that's I think it's next episode. Apparently, people are saying episode 4.
Welcome back to Secret Life. I'm very yellow. And my skin has been changed to reflect that. I would love to start today by
Lost.
finally using a bunch of
If I
these
search the
books
word
that I have,
eye.
but we need to get powered up.
Because it kind of looks like he was following with the eye
We gotta
thing.
dig down next to this.
Come on down, Army. Sorry,
Jesus.
just make your way down.
Ow.
Does anybody have a timestamp
It's
of where she says
fine.
this?
Just don't jump down there, you take a bit of damage.
It's a long walk down, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's all good.
I cannot believe I got anybody to say yes, let alone 3 people.
You know, we have a bad case of the yes ands.
It's true.
Maybe in Scott's
I could've
episode.
told that as
Okay, hold
well.
on.
This is a bad case
gonna
of the
change
yes
that.
ands.
Hello.
Transition to
Welcome.
Oh, here we
300.
are.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay.
Smager. So it'll be Smager episode 4, yeah? Let's have a look. Smager 4. Got it.
We shouldn't be here.
Martyn just-
Oh my gosh, mine's just fallen off the edge.
off the edge. God, you just led with that. Damn. Jeez. No suspense. Transcript. see. Hold on. No, I'm not seeing it there either. If somebody's able to find that for me, that would be good. Let's work on the basis that I don't even know what basis we could work on for that for Gem. So I'm trying to remember what I said about Gem previously. This is the problem, is I can't remember like the 2-3 hour stream that I would have done last time and what we said about Gem. I think if I remember correctly, I was saying that the reason that those players were pulled in and they embodied the players that were in the series is that they hadn't fully recovered properly from the last game that was played, and that these people coming in as almost like soul links or soul swaps was basically to take on some of that burden and some of that trauma for them, if that makes sense. So that was basically what I said. So I kind of like the idea, honestly, that they brought Gem in because they knew she was strong at PvP and that she was somebody with strong will, and that as they tried to then just take her back out again and leave her back where they found her, this being the listeners taking her in and out, I like the idea that the watchers were like, no, like, you want to play these games, you stay, and they've just grabbed and just managed to hold on, and just managed to keep Gem in. I kind of like the idea of that they brought her in as like a, you know, as almost like a to soften the blow, and the watchers were like, well, no, okay, like, we were so busy dealing with XYZ, like, you've managed to do something to Martyn, we don't know what it is, but while you're busy doing that, we're grabbing Gem. While you're busy trying to help Martyn cure scars, fragments, whatever, like, we've managed to grab Gem in that process. So the listeners have almost let slip there, and they've almost committed Gem to a fate that she wasn't meant to. The eye thing is on Gem's episode 5, 22-minute mark. Thank you. Let's have a look. Gemini Tay, episode 5, Secret Life. Episode 5, 22-minute mark. Got it. Let's have a look. Let's pause this for a sec.
Thank you. You made it so I can pretty much succeed my task.
We're starting from 21:45 here.
Well, should we play a game of how long you can look at the Enderman?
How long to look at the... Oh, gosh. Oh, where'd she come from? Oh, my gosh.
Hey, guys.
Where did you come from?
We doing tasks? Screen lives?
No, not really.
We're just having fun with Enderman. Nothing to see here at all, Gem. Not even at all. I love the eye. I love the eye.
I love the description. Some PG-13 jokes in this one. Fair warning.
Lose it?
Yeah, to the portal.
Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, there it is.
No, not really.
We're just having fun with Enderman. Nothing to see here at all, Gem. Not even at all. I love the eye. I love the eye. Did you lose it?
Yeah, to the portal.
Tough times in the portal. Am I right, Mumbo? Why is he
That is
circling
rough.
us? All right, so how long do we have to actually look at the Enderman?
I don't know. I mean, it's just how like how, we just have to
Incredibly weird, those
mention
two.
when we've stopped.
Incredibly weird.
Okay, interesting. So Gem lost her eye to the portal. I'm down with that. Somebody said that at 15:50 on episode 4.
Hello, everyone.
She says you're welcome to the portal. Let's have a looky. Did you say 15:40?
No, they know.
Right here.
Yep.
We're doing it.
There you are, guys.
Okay. If they did.
The bad case of the yes ands.
Hello.
Welcome.
Oh,
There
here
it
we
is.
are.
Yeah, wow.
If they didn't know, they know.
Right here.
Yep.
We're doing it.
There you are, guys.
Okay.
Welcome to the
On the
gateway.
count of 3.
I believe in you. I gave
just
you all
probably
my
left my
arrows
book
and my
behind.
golden apples. That's what I gave you.
Okay. And
Okay.
a 3, 2, 1.
One.
Here we go.
Yes, they're doing it! Yes! My plan worked! It wasn't much of a plan, but it did work! They actually went in! Oh, I'm so pleased with myself. You're welcome in, Portal. I did it. Oh, I'm
okay.
sure they're fine. They're fine!
That doesn't feel like a knowing you're welcome, right? Like, it doesn't feel as though that's like a... That doesn't feel as though she's breaking any fourth walls. It almost feels as though she's talking to it as you would potentially an inanimate object. I'm not sure that feels... That doesn't feel to me like anything too much deeper. Can you watch 420 timestamp on Gem's finale episode? Sure. Let's look at this as well then. See what we got.
Completely. Like Zip zap.
Okay, yeah, you come get me when you're ready. You know, get your food and get everything you need and all that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'll have a little chat with my alliance, and we'll talk.
All right. There's a lot of talking and meeting going on down there. What do you think they're talking about? Do you think they're talking about us?
Maybe. I'm gonna do this out of spite to the secret keepers. This can only end well.
Oh. Okay.
I just need the inventory space, if I'm honest. Carrying around a book that tells me to win doesn't do much for me.
Not that useful, is it, really, in the grand scheme of things?
No.
Yeah, understandable. Hi, Alliance. Hi, Alliance.
I don't think there's anything too much to that. That's just kind of an acknowledgement of the situation you're in, isn't it? I think that's just very Scott coded. That's very much just Scott being Scott. Refuses to participate in the boogeyman, burns the book. It's just that's a Scott moment as opposed to a Jem moment, and that does not surprise me, that moment at all. So yeah, that's fine. All right, so Jem was brought in by the listeners during limited life to try and alleviate the burden of being a player from some of the others. Specifically, well, I guess from Cleo specifically. No origin world declared for where she came from, just to like plug that gap. Like, they've got a version of Jem, don't know which world, whether it's Hermit, Empires, whatever. Like, it's just, yeah, it's just there. So that's that. Basically, she was during the final moments of limited life, whilst the listeners were focused on Martyn, the Watchers took that opportunity to properly commit Jem to this world. She's now stuck. I like that. I think that's simple. Nice, simple explanation. The eye stuff is... The eye stuff is interesting. But it just feels as though she's following the book and doing that. I think if she'd had expanded on it a bit more, then I'd be more intrigued to write stuff around it. But I think for now, it doesn't need anything written to it. You know what I mean? I think that's okay. I think we're all good with that. Aside from Grian, who is special, why Cleo was never affected by the Boogeyman curse in the whole series and the apocalypse, Cleo may have potential. Honestly, I think that's just a game of chance. And I think as well, the fact that Jem was the one that was selected to be the beginning of the zombie apocalypse was basically the Watchers just kind of putting Jem through her paces. They were trying to see that if given the right tools, how many seeds of chaos could she sow? And it turns out she's a bloody good farmer. It's the way that I see it. It was almost a bit of a trial by fire. If it goes well, then, you know, Jem could pull the game's the game situation. But just in general, it just immediately puts Jem on a bum note with everybody. If Jem's going around with a herd of zombies, taking everybody out, and that's Jem's first appearance in that world, it doesn't put Jem in good step with everybody. You know what I mean? Granted, like, they won't hold on to those grudges into later seasons or later cycles, but, you know, it makes her any insecurity or any awkwardness she has very much magnified by having that applied to her. So I think that's all, again, just kind of part of the Watchers kind of doing their thing. What about the idea of all soulmates have won the game? Cleo is the winner in season 6. It's too speculative. I don't think we can really linger on that too much. That is just one of those things. I did see people saying, like, you know, oh, well, you've got, you know, Grian won, and he's tied to Scar, who won later. Then you've got Scott, who was tied to Pearl in Double Life, and that worked. And then you've just got me as a separate party. But I think that's all just kind of, it's the way the chips fall. I don't think the Watchers are pre-designating who will win or doing things to push anything in anybody's favor, other than pushing Timmy off of ledges. That's just that. You're just left out, which honestly kind of makes sense, right? It's one of those fun things with the live series where it kind of falls into my lap. Where basically my story, my alternate universe is completely centered around me, and the fact that I am the odd one out just kind of makes sense continually. That's kind of how that works. Scott was allied with Scar via Gem, who allied with Pearl, who allied with Scar. Also, I like that Scar equals Earth and Eclipse represents Pearl overtaking Grian as Scar's biggest influence. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I'm not totally against that. Again, I feel like the whole celestial body thing is a whole separate thing. The celestial body thing is already somebody else's establishment. You know what I mean? Like, that is very much... I don't know who's the origin of that. It feels like it's a very community-wide thing. That's not something that I'm going to throw any weight or gravity into. I'm not going to say, you know, it's Pluto, it's Earth, it's a meteor, whatever. Like, that is just... That's everybody else enjoying their thing. They're doing their thing. I'm not going to have that tangled into my stuff because I don't want to blur the lines of what my story is. And stuff like that. So that's that. So far we've covered Gem and how she exists in the world and kind of what she's undergone. We've got Scar. I guess I've not actually written in the document about Ren too much aside from Ren being able to embody Tango temporarily. Is just kind of what have I put here? I've put Canary curse not broken, simply the failings of the Watchers. Demonstrates there's still a tug of war happening between the Watchers, which would also explain how Ren managed to slip in again. Yeah, so that's that sorted. Why is Ren still gone? Well, I've explained this previously, that when certain players don't come back right away, it's because the sort of the trauma and the damage done to them hasn't been remedied fully or enough when they come back for another season. So it's why, you know, people like Mumbo have been missing and stuff like that. It was too traumatic for them, and the Watchers need them to be at least of a certain level of wellness in order to be put back into the game. So throughout the whole of Secret Life, bar this brief period that we had, they are just floating or falling in a void space the entire time, basically. So yeah, so that's that one. Did that music just end? Was that the final song? It was. Let's go back to the start. I feel like this calm, laid-back music works well. Is there any other concepts, any other elements that you're curious about? How is falling through the void good for your mental health? They're in a completely unconscious state when this is happening, just to clarify. So yeah, it's why you always see me in my lore stuff relating to this as falling through the void, because it's basically where they keep them. It is a weird void pocket of space where they leave them. The end portal boom when Grian stated the rules to Mumbo. What's that? Sorry, the end portal boom when Grian stated the rules to Mumbo. What's that? What do the listeners think of Grian? They're aware of Grian's existence, but he's not aware of theirs. Grian is still a very new Watcher, or I guess I don't really have a name for that kind of being. Watchers and listeners are very much like almost like clans, if you will. The Watchers, as far as we know, only has 2 members. The listeners, we don't actually know their numbers. And that's, again, I think that would be the name of what that kind of entity is. I will decide upon whenever we decide to roll out the council or maybe the speakers, something like that. Oh, sorry, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, you're talking about the Thunder thing when Mumbo was asking whether he could re-roll his book, and Grian was like, absolutely not. And then it went, and there was like a natural thunder strike. Do we put that down to coincidence? I don't think we put it down to coincidence, but I also don't think that Grian caused the thunder. Oh, it's the portal opening. Sorry, yeah, it was the portal opening. Sorry, I thought it was thunder for some reason. If it was the portal opening, that's just chance. Yeah, we just whacked that down to chance. I think that is just purely a coinkydink. It's just purely a coinkydink. If past just if them going into the void is because of too much emotional turmoil, could it be Tango grieving the loss of Torchy? Is that why Ren then came in the next week? I'm not sure it was that deep with Torchy. I'm not gonna lie. I think what it is with Tango and then also with Cleo and Pearl in those previous seasons, I think it was very much they were put back in when they weren't quite ready and they hit their limits at different times during those series. So Tango was still sort of reeling and still not quite fully recovered from limited life. He had enough go in him to kind of get through most of this season, but basically the day off, you know what I mean? Torchy was the #1 character of Secret Life. We missed them every day. Let's get some 07s for Torchy, dude. I feel bad for killing him. Yeah, I feel bad for killing Torchy. Because we watched that animatic the other day where it kind of felt as though, because I called out Torchy and its existence, that Torchy was just dead. Just gone immediately. Whoops. Whoops. Any other questions? Any other questions? Any thoughts about the idea that Tortoise was a watcher during Evo? Not my idea, I saw an AU to that. It's an interesting one. Because Tortoise just kind of vanished, right? Never returned. What was Tortoise's, like, end to Evo? Let's have a look. That's an old one to dip into. Tortoise Evo. Tortoise's Evolution SMP. What was Tortoise's last episode? Let's have a look here. It's been a while since I've watched anything from here. Tortoise got stuck in the previous version in the purple dimension. Fast forward a bit.
Oh, thank God.
Who's Tortoise? Oh no, he said Wall Tortoise. Sorry. Well, that was a typo.
Oh, thank God. Wait. Okay. Not therapy. Is the portal in my hot air balloon? What? Oh my God. That'd be... I don't understand. Oh, wait. Oh, there's another one. Okay, there's another clue. Okay. Thank you. What is this? Head straight past the sculpture and continue on, and one will find the next clue. On the brink of an oasis. Do not go astray, or you may lose your way. That's my... That's what I...
Just sort of fast forwarding through. I kind of want to just go towards the end of the...
I just gotta make it at this... Oh. I got this. Have any wood. I don't have any wood. Oh my gosh. Gonna die. I'll be honest. I thought I was gonna die. Oh my gosh.
Dude. Evo was a whole nother beast, wasn't it? Let's have a look.
He's usually at his base, building stuff, working on his evil contract. Guys, chat, shh. Guys, don't snap. Alright, good. We can take this time to... Don't you Grian! Come on, man!
So it just seems as though, I mean, at least from Tortoise's last episode, it just seems as though he's just there and then wasn't another day. Unless there's a part of this that I'm not seeing. Is it just Tortoise just kind of existed and then didn't go? I mean, to be honest, what if it's literally just a case of loads of the players decided to go through the portal? Yeah, loads of the players decided to go through the portal. Nobody came back. Obviously, there was a significant time skip between the dragon fight and then coming back. Because obviously when they went back to the base, all of Spawn had become overgrown and old and stuff like that. I can imagine just almost like a passing of time, and the new Spawn was set off in this direction, and also there was a time skip, and then maybe Tortoise just realized nobody was coming back, and he just went off in another direction. You know what I mean? He just went from a different direction from Spawn, lived out his life, and that was that. Yeah, fair. Let's see. You look cool with glasses. Thanks, dude. I did see that one person's confession on MCYT Confessions, by the way, about me with glasses on. You know who you are. If you're watching right now, you're like, oh my god, I'm so glad that was anonymous. Right, what other questions we got relating to the story? Have we kind of covered everything? We've covered sort of people remembering whether Grian's a watcher, the Secret Keeper logo being really cool for X reasons. We've got Canary curse not being broken. We've got... Oh, I still never keep finishing this bit on the document that says Grian couldn't cash in on success right away. I like to think that maybe that is just... I mean, unless it works both ways, right? Oh, dude, what if that was it? What if... So, you know, like I like the idea that Grian is in the games, but I think I've kind of said this before, that Grian is in the games, but he can also get himself out of them whenever he feels like, because he is on that kind of same plane, if you will, as the Watchers. I like the idea that Grian almost projects, like an astral projection, if you will, into the games that he plays all of the time, and he has a physicality, but where he's having this tug of war with the Watchers as well as the listeners having a tug of war with the Watchers. I like the idea that that was just a coincidence / opportune moment where Grian went to go and cash in, and basically I like the idea that he went to press the button and he put his hand down and he was just a wisp, like he was just like translucent for that moment. He had no real physical form. You could see him, but like but it didn't quite work. I like the idea that he went for that and it didn't quite work, and then that's why when he died and respawned, he was in this weird middle ground. There was a real, you know, disruption, almost like an EMP going off in like a yeah, it's like a loss of focus. Yeah. That's I mean, that's the best way to summarize that. I like that. I like the idea of that. I like the idea that he got caught in this middle realm between being out where they all exist on their plane and physically being in the in-game world. He kind of got caught in this loop in the middle, and they probably made him sweat for a moment. Like, the fact they were able to do that means that they probably had more of a sense of where he is on the outside, and that probably spooked, you know, Watcher Grian quite a bit. I like that idea. So Grian couldn't cash in on success right away because his focus was disrupted with the ongoing power struggle with the Watchers. He goes to press success. His avatar / projection lost physical form, still visible, but not but no matter, but had no matter. So Grian doesn't fall through the void then? He doesn't. No, Grian doesn't fall through the void. Yeah, Grian doesn't fall through the void, and he's got himself into a position where he can insert himself into the games each time, much to the annoyance of the Watchers. So Grian's actually one of the, or probably the only player actually, I guess, that retains emotions between seasons, but it doesn't serve him well to demonstrate those, because he would then come across almost like overly emotional and overly weighted in a lot of situations. And because he's aware that this really is a loop and a cycle, like he can't afford to kind of dob himself in like that. He's almost become a bit like neutral to the whole thing. There's still a morality there of him trying to free the players because they're his friends, but he knows he has to almost put a lid on it in order to keep his composure, if that makes sense. He's all caught up in a middle ground. Unlikely the Watchers got the closest read to where he is out in the plane, as we'll just call it for now. Out in the plane than ever before. Nice, I like that. Damn, there is a lot of people watching this, by the way. Hi, everybody. For all those people that have been like ranting on Tumblr about no one cares about Martyn's AU. There's like 2.1k people sat here right now. 1.3 on YouTube, 800 on Twitch. What's up, everyone? More questions. Hit me with them. Hit me with them. What other questions do you have lore-wise regarding the series? What do you think about Grian having the most kills? Is it because, although he dislikes the Watchers, he still has to feed on negative emotions, or the Watchers force him to feed off of it? Or is it that he hopes there's a chance they enter a limbo between life and death and they can escape? Yeah, I think I lean myself in my head. I lean more towards the latter there. That's right. Yeah, I lean towards more the... Every time he does the killing blow, there's a moment, there's a flicker where he might be able to extract them. But he's so inexperienced with his abilities that he's yet to succeed. Fragments, question mark. Okay, so just to explain, there is this thing I'll show you from Limited Life, actually. So from my Limited Life finale, I kind of told people about this. Where is it? Limited Life. Limited Life was quite a while ago. If I just go onto my channel. Limited Life 1 finale. Here we go. All right, cool. I did wonder. Here's my finale. So if we just fast forward a bit, so you can see that every time I've lost a game of the Life series, basically a part of me has been broken or fragmented. And this is a whole running theme. So you've got the mark on the hand or the fragment on the hand. You've got the one on the cheek. Where did we say the other ones was? I swear there's one above the heart. There's one there. There was the one on the hand. And the one on the hand was actually cured. Yeah, there was one on the back as well. So because I won that game, that one was protected. Do all the players get fragmented? Yes, they do. Yeah. So obviously, because some players have... Well, actually, nobody's won twice, so we're basically all equally fragmented at the minute. So I guess the big question is, where is the new fragment? Where is the fragment for this season, given that I lost? And also, let me just write this down. Fragments appear. So hold on, I need to write this down. So Third Life's was the one beneath the cheek, wasn't it? So that one was crying over the loss of Ren, I think is what we said before. This is in an old live stream, but I'm sure somebody will know off the top of their head. And then, oh, cool. Someone's actually got it in the chat straight away. Let's have a look. Third Life. Last Life was between the shoulder blades. What? Why was Last Life between the shoulder blades? Shoulder blades. And then Double Life. Double Life was chest. And then Limited Life was hand protected. There we go. Protected. Yeah, I just can't remember exactly where they were. And just as a little thing, somebody actually did notice this on socials, that those fragments do appear elsewhere. So by mistake, my mistake, not Cherry's, there was this scar here from the cheek appeared on, I think, the first 3, maybe 4 Secret Life episode thumbnails, but they're not actually supposed to appear there. That's a whole thing. But yeah, basically in Pirates I have the scar, so That's the whole thing. New life is detached from any lore. New life is its own thing. Scott said by request he wanted it to be its own thing, so we've obviously respected his wishes with that. I guess we don't have it on the rats thing, do we? I'm trying to think. In rats, would rats timeline wise? I mean, I guess technically it should be on the rats ones, but we're not going to go through and retcon all those thumbnails just for the sake of that. But yeah. Okay, that's fine. So rats was pre-limb life, yeah, but they should still be present. So does all the live series happen before any of the other data stream series? They are happening in unison. I've not really said how properly it all works, but yeah, the data stream lore, which is from my VTuber and kind of my overarching story lore, is tied directly to the Traffic Life series, the Eyes and Ears story, but I've just not revealed to what capacity, how it all makes sense, all that sort of stuff just yet. So yeah. So right, let's circle back to this then. So where should my fragment appear for Secret Life? Do you have it like on the finger, so it's like a shush, or do you have it on the foot because the foot you stepped off the edge? Or I'm seeing a lot of people saying that it should appear on the tailbone. So where a dog tail would be for being a big dog, having it on the tailbone. I feel like we almost need to do a poll. You know what I mean? I feel like it needs to be a poll. Let's do a poll. Okay, I'm going to do a poll in both chats. So, where should character Martyn's new fragment be? Should it be tailbone? Should it be foot? I guess like, I imagine it on the foot. It's under the sole of the foot. That's where I imagine it being. So that's being he stepped off the platform and into the void. Any other contenders? Any other contenders we should think of? Ears. Why ears? There's a few people saying ears. And also people saying neck as well. I guess say the one you mean and give a reasoning as to why. So if you're saying neck, say neck because blah 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 blah. Throat because no speaking or barking. Forehead, you got domed. I will say that I don't think the fragments ever pertain to like how the final death occurs. So forehead is probably not going to go in the mix. How about behind the ear, since you're all listening to the Secret Keeper anyway? Neck because collar and because not being able to say things. Vocal cords neck. Neck because dog collar. Throat as you can't speak. Mouth because of secrets. Alright, we've got a lot of contenders here. Right, okay, hold on. Let's make this poll. Can you make polls on YouTube chats as well? Nope, that's not how you do that. Is there a way to do it? Start a poll. Here we go. Right. Where should the new fragment be? We're going to do palm of the hand. We can't do the palm of the hand unless we did the other hand, but it doesn't feel as though it's relevant to this series. So we're going to do tailbone, sole of foot. We're going to do throat, as in like, I guess like where the Adam's apple is, I guess, like neck, throat / neck, I'll put. And then the final one was ear. I think those are the 4 options I want to run with. Tailbone, sole of foot, throat, neck, and ear. Cool. I'm going to do that. Let me pull it up on here as well. Where should the new fragment be? Question mark. Right, so tailbone, sole of foot, throat / neck, or ear. I'm going to do like a 2-minute poll on each of these. There you are. Right, so you should be able to vote on both platforms now. Feel free to do so. It doesn't really matter to me too much where it is. I think all of those locations bar the neck, all kind of don't appear really. Like they're very much on the skin as opposed to on any clothing. They don't shine through. So future iterations of it wouldn't be visible really anyway. But we just know ourselves that it's there. Have you seen seen the theory that the winners help craft the next series? I saw it on Tumblr and it seemed so interesting to see. Yes, I did. I can't remember it verbatim off the top of my head, but the concept is that basically the next season leans into the strengths of the winner of the previous season or something like that, right? Like it's themed around their play style and their preference, if that makes sense. So yeah, let's have a look at the poll so far. I mean, to be honest, it's looking... I tell you what, it's eerily similar on both platforms. In fact, it's exactly the same on both platforms. Sole of the foot, bottom, ear, third place, tailbone, second place. Throat and neck is very much the front runner on both polls on both websites. So, there you go. What is Scar's relation to the Watchers, if any? No relation. Just a poor sod who's been pulled into the games, basically. All right, looks like it's going to be neck then. Looks like the new one's on the neck. We could do that. Secret Life, neck. So the fragments are cheek. Yeah, the fragments are on the cheek, between the shoulder blades, on the chest. The hand was protected, and then the neck is for Secret Life. Fair, fair, fair. We'll have to remember that one from now on, Cherry. We have to commit that one to memory. Please explain Bigby. What's up with him? In what regard? In what regard? Yeah, throat wins. Throat/neck won on both polls. I'll end the poll there as well. Nice. Good. Oh boy. Bigby in general. What is Bigby? There were some people saying about like Bigby getting a red scroll in the first episode or whatever. That was just. I'm not making that a story bit. That was just. You know, that was just a content creator blip. That was he just forgot to put on the correct resource pack. You know what I mean? I'm not making that any huge story bit. But if you really want to go crazy, Bigby was actually being possessed and controlled by the listeners and creating all these doorways in the hopes that one of them lands in the right pocket of space and time to open up a new portal so all the players can run out of it. Oh! There you go. There's your explanation. Making many doors, but none of them lead to anywhere until, bang, one of them opens up and it's the way out. Oh my god. Write it down! Write it down! Good thing I've not got a smoke alarm because I am cooking right now. But that is a cool visual of Bigby making an infinite number of doors. And then one of them finally, he opens it. Like, it's an empty corridor, you can see it. He puts down the door, opens it thinking, another one. Bam. And then suddenly, portal. That blows his mind. So there you go. Right, any more questions? So far we have covered how Gem is in the series, how Grian behaved and was disrupted this season, Scar's victory and what happened to him after the cameras went off, the Secret Keeper logo representing the power struggle between the Watchers having to get closer together and warding off the listeners and Grian. We've covered the fragment for my character and where that exists. You know what I would love to see? I think it would be really cool. I would love to know... And this, everybody can have a totally different opinion on this. I would love to see people deciding where they think other players' fragments are. So each player, when they lose a season of the live series, they get a new fragment. And I would love to know where those fragments land. Does Grian have fragments? Grian does not. Grian's the only one who doesn't. He's exempt from that. But yeah, I'd just love to see people theorize on where they would be. So the way that I've designed the fragments and settled on them is that they bear a significance to either the most traumatic moment in the series or something that's very representative of it. So obviously, like the cheek was the crying and the king dying and stuff like that. Obviously, the throat neck has been about like kind of the collar and the inability to speak. The chest was obviously the linking of hearts, so that's why it's so literal with that one. I don't remember what the shoulder blades one was about. I literally don't remember what the last life one was pertaining to. And then limited life was the hand that got protected. I don't remember if we gave a logic to that. You got backstabbed. Did I get backstabbed by who? I'm normally the one who backstabs. Can a person shatter if they have enough fragments? Oh, that's a really good question. That's a big boy question. That's a humongo question. Oh, how fragmented can a soul / person become before they can no longer exist? How much patchwork can be done? Woven the fragments that make up a soul, if those words ring bells for anybody. Oh, that was one of the ideas that I had from like day dot for the series. That I can't answer, but it's quite a lot. I think the only reason that we've drawn the fragments so large in the lore bits that I've done so far is so it's more apparent what you're concentrating on. But in my mind, the fragments can be significantly smaller. And the fragments are formed by basically extreme trauma or too much physical strain. But like the physical strain I'm referring to is basically death or close to, which is what the games do, if that makes sense. So yeah. Grian talking to Scar in the afterlife. I see a lot of people asking this question in the YouTube chat. That is, so at the end of each series, there's often ghost mode, isn't there? And I think that is just the watchers allowing the players to see how things conclude. They're part of this game. They're part of this investment. It may, based on the outcome of what happens before their eyes, will make them decide to ally with people in the future seasons, or be aware of people's skill sets for future games. It's just something that the watchers allow. They allow them to be in this kind of state to see how it goes down. But once the final person has gone, then boop, everything goes black. You are all unconscious and you are back out in the plane, falling through space again. Or not even falling through space if it's void, you know what I'm saying, until you are recouped and the next game begins. So yeah. Who else is canonically cursed besides Jimmy? I don't think anybody, really. I don't think anybody else is particularly cursed, I don't think. Why was the Secret Keeper insisting on making Scar a villain? I just think each season the watchers decide on somebody that they think they want to try and mess with. If there's somebody they feel as though has had it too good or has had an easy ride or they think they could get more out of, then they go for it. There's the Icarus curse. All right, explain the Icarus curse to me then regarding Grian. I mean, bear in mind, all of these curses are probably wicked ideas and really cool. I'm only talking about stuff that exists in my universe, and that's not to say that I came up with a Canary curse, but that is one that I'm happily adopting into my world, and I may, you know, veer it off its original course, but that's the fun of an AU, right? Like you can do what you want with that. It's all just fun little stories. We're all just scribbling and doodling. Oh, his allies always die. Do they always die at his hand or what? I mean, I think Grian's already kind of accounted for in my story anyway, so I don't think we need to give too much back to it. So we got that. I think we've kind of covered most things, you know? I feel quite happy that we've covered a lot. I'm looking in both chats, just seeing what we're seeing. One of Scar's fragments. Oh, I'm not going to read out where people's fragments could be. Let's see. Gem subbing in for Cleo in Limited Life and Cleo not being infected by the Boogie Curse, which originated with Gem, possibly a subconscious emotional connection. I don't think it's that deep, in my opinion. I don't think it's that deep. I think it was just they gave that to Gem just to make her life a bit more difficult as the new kid on the block. And maybe they even found inspiration in the fact that Gem had embodied Cleo previously. They wanted to do something that was quite on the nose. Whether Cleo would fall victim to it was a total question mark, but I like the idea that the watchers felt inspired, ironically, by the listeners' interference. It was almost a way of them gloating against the listeners, you know what I mean? They're going, oh yeah, you want to put this person in zombie Cleo? Well, how about we just keep her, and she can be a zombie, and she can rain pain across the whole server. How do you like that? Like, it almost feels like that was like a real pettiness from the Watchers side of things. And Grian and Cleo have still never been Boogie. This is true. This is true. The Watchers are so petty. The Watchers have been petty since we tried to leave Evo. I think it kind of shows, like, they've been around obviously for quite some time, and they are not part of the council anymore, but they exist on their own means. And then and I think basically, I don't think they grew that detachment from humans or sentient beings in the same way that the council have. Are they immortal? I mean, I guess I don't want to say yes or no entirely. I don't know. There's no point putting, you know, a hard rule in place, but they are kind of omnipresent, I guess, is the way I would describe them currently. There's no known way currently to harm the Watchers or the listeners. They can seem to inflict damage on one another, but I've not really thought about that or explored it just yet. What about Grian letting Scar reroll for a hard task after he failed his normal one in the first episode? Also, Grian letting log out during the Wither fight, and then Grian having to tell him that Pearl died. I think the re-roll in the hard task, again, not everything is seen in my POV, right? I don't think I was there to witness the Scar re-roll to memory. What program do you use to organize the lore? Literally just Google Docs. I literally have one singular Google Doc, which is my life series and VTuber lore, just as one long document. And by the way, thank you to the people on Tumblr who were saying to me about maybe rewording it to arcs as opposed to chapters, because then arcs can kind of run in unison and chapters feels a bit more sequential and a bit more timeliney. But yeah, literally, like, look, this is literally just how I've been doing it today. Like, it is literally just a Google Doc. Like, I keep it simple. I keep it simple. Leak it. I can't leak the data stream one, the data stream / live series one, like the main document, which I will copy paste this stuff into, because that has spoilers for Fragment Wars, which is the currently unfolding arc. So just for context, let me bring up the doc, but without showing you guys. I'm literally gonna put it on a second monitor so I don't accidentally leak it. Where is it? So yeah, basically previously we had chapter 1 or arc 1. It's called Memory Lane. That covers the events of Evo. Then after that, you've then got arc 2, if you will, which is simply called Life. I don't know whether it needs a different name. I kind of like it being just called Life. Which covers Third Life, Last Life, and then happening alongside that in unison is Into the Data Stream, which is the VTuber stuff. Stop trying to look in the reflection of my glasses, god damn it. So all of that is going on. And then basically coming out the other end of Limited Life is kind of when Fragment Wars properly begins, or has begun. And that's where we're at currently. So I guess really, honestly, Life which is, you know, the life arc is kind of happening consistently. I guess really, honestly, you could actually divide up each life series into separate arcs, if that makes sense. And then the data stream one was pretty well established. Obviously, the data stream one then also incorporates in Rats SMP and Pirates SMP. So there's a lot of layers to it. VTuber Arc 5 name, I don't know, because the outcome of Fragment Wars would dictate where the story goes next. And obviously I don't know what that is. I have ideas for where each thing can go, but I've not fully committed to it just yet. My plan is, with the VTuber lore, is that I really, really, really still want to make a comic sometime in 2024 that that kind of, I don't know, I guess it probably will. It will unveil a lot more about the VTuber lore, and also maybe lay bare the connections between the VTuber story and the life story. I feel as though we're literally 2-3 years in now, and I feel like we can just do that at this point. Just be like, yeah, here it is, bam. But with the comics, I think I would have to maybe get a quote for the comic, and then see if I can maybe crowdfund it. Because I don't think... I don't have the confidence that I could make the comic, you know, by paying an artist, and then I don't have the confidence it would sell enough copies to make the cost back. So I'd almost need the crowdfunding route, get the money in, pay the artist, and then bam, away we go. So yeah. Is the Secret Keeper a Watcher? No, the Secret Keeper is just the facade that the Watchers put on, and the statue itself is just something, it's a mechanical piece of the game. The Secret Keeper is just a new name. It's kind of the first time, like, it's interesting, isn't it? The thought that in Third Life, Last Life, Limited, Double, we've just kind of been plonked into the world and we just sort of know the rules. Whereas this time we actually have a present looming thing. It's not even a being, it's just, it's a location, it's a gameplay element. So yeah. I'm a bit new in this alternate universe. Can you maybe explain exactly what is Grian? Because he's was a watcher, a player, but also a creator of the live series, how it works. So the simplest way to explain it in my story is Grian was an Evo. He was chosen by the Watchers to join their ranks, was with them for quite some time, didn't like what they were doing when they were starting to lean into feeding on more negative emotions than regular. So the idea is the Watchers were feeding previously on a wide spread of emotions, and they enjoyed things like happiness and stuff like that. But then they found that fear, it's almost like a reverse Monsters Inc., I guess. They found that fear was more tasty, and like betrayal, heartbreak, anguish, all that sort of stuff, which is why they then threw all of the players that they have into these games, into what is the Life series. And basically Grian has self-inserted himself into that space to try and help his friends by making it fun. Like, Grian always has a very mischievous, fun nature about it. It's never too serious when you're around Grian, right? There's always an edge taken off where it feels a bit more lighthearted. So he's a watcher that is projecting or making himself present in the game world, which also disrupts the watcher's focus. And his ultimate goal is to try and get all of the players out of that and back into their respective worlds that they've been plucked from. That's basically what Grian is. So that's the simple recap of it. I do actually have a script that I've started which explains the Eyes and Ears alternate universe. I've gotten as far as the end of Last Life with that, and obviously the lore was actually a little lesser in the subsequent series, so I'm hoping that maybe in January I can finish that script up, give it to somebody to make cool visuals for, very like game theory visual style, and we can have a video that explains the alternate universe to really bring in as many people as possible who want to just join in my silly little story I've been writing, which would be cool. Please could Scott breaking up Scar and Jimmy stopping a canon event be what led to Jimmy's curse being broken and Scar winning? Can you elaborate on that for me? I'm not sure what you're saying. Scott breaking up Scar and Jimmy. So wait, was Scott responsible for the rift between those two? Was Scott somehow responsible for that? Lizzie's void death. Is she still alive? Technically, the void is never ending, so would the Watchers have been able to find her and bring her to the other void? What do the Watchers think of her? I mean, Lizzie just died. Like, she died a mechanical gameplay death. So she fell into the void, much like I did, and then she died, and that was it. She was out of the series. So that you know, there's nothing deeper than that. She watched her hearts go to 0 and then boom, gone, finished. They didn't have to like search for her, and she's not infinitely falling in this plane. She is out in the plane. Do you think the players were taken from somewhere by the Watchers? What if the Watchers created the players and there's no escape? No, I like the idea that they've been plucked from their worlds. I don't think they created the players, because otherwise they wouldn't have had history in their own lives lived prior to doing that. Scott stopped them from teaming up in episode 1. Scott prevented Jimmy from teaming up with Scar. I don't know. Would that break the Canary curse again? I don't think the Canary curse is broken. The Canary curse is still very much a Watcher intention. It's been disrupted. You know what I mean? So I'm not that into the whole Scott breaking up a canon event, if you will. So that one I'll just sort of do a bit of a pass on. So like, do the listeners just prefer feeding on positive emotions if the Watchers prefer negative? No, not necessarily. No, the listeners just continue as things are, if that makes sense. And again, I've not decided yet whether the listeners work on behalf of the council or whether the listeners are an entirely separate body. We're just aware of them, but I don't know what their origin or their full drive and purpose is. They're clearly trying to stop the Watchers with what they're doing, but to what gain, I don't entirely know. But the listeners operate, as far as I really feel, on the basis that they are feeding on equal emotions from the players and people in other worlds. It's actually taking a little bit of each emotion, so it's not actually fully apparent to the people that they siphon from, and that's enough. Whereas the Watchers realised there was more spice, more flavour from negative emotions, and they just went fully down the rabbit hole of nastiness, if that makes sense. What was the other one I saw? I swear there was another question I saw that I was like, ooh, yeah, that's the one I want to address next. Let's see. Who are in the council if the Watchers and the listeners aren't in it? I don't fully know just yet. The council is basically just... So basically the Watchers and the listeners, and I guess now technically Grian, they are of another type of being. And the council is kind of, you know, the head of the table. I don't know how many there are. I don't know how far their power reaches, but I just know that they are a different disembodied thing. You know what I mean? I like to think they go back to their home servers after every live series. In my story, unfortunately not. What about the dreams of other worlds, like how characters dream of Hermitcraft while they're healing in between games? Does Scar not get that chance since he's stuck in Secret Life? He will after a time. I think once Scar is truly, fully, like, fed upon, he will then get to have dreams about Hermitcraft and things like that. Because they need the players to repair, you know what I mean? Like, the time when they're away from the live series and they are dreaming in that void space about other servers and games and worlds that they're from, that's a restorative period. The listeners could be just as bad as the Watchers. Yeah, maybe. What about Mumbo dying straight after Jimmy again? Has that any lore? No, I wouldn't say so. That's not been something that's come into my head. What is the purpose of the council with the Watchers and listeners? So the council are basically like the head of the table for their type of being. I don't know how big and expansive that civilization is, but they are certainly a level above. Basically, the people that live within this universe aren't aware of the Watchers and listeners. Like, they are very much a level above. They're almost like not like a fourth wall break, but you know what I mean? They're a layer outside of it. Are they some kind of gods? Yeah, I would say so. But there's not been cases of them appearing, you know, in the mortal realm, and then there's stories written about them and their escapades. Like, they have always been ever watching, but ever elusive, ever evasive. Are the council separate beings from the watchers listeners? They're the same type of being. So they're the same, like, race, if you will. Sun God on the council, can you imagine? Would character Jimmy have thought of the task he had done for the listeners during Secret Life, or would he have not thought about that at all? Word that one again? I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Are the watchers losing power since players' emotions are clearly carrying? Yes, they are. Yeah. Since Limited Life and ever so slightly before it, there's been a bit of a power struggle, and the watchers are slowly losing control over everything, which is interesting. Super interesting. Does Grian know he's a watcher? Yep. Yeah. Oh, that was the other question. I don't know where it's gone now. Basically, somebody was asking whether... That's probably way too far back up now. That was it. It was from YYY, though. Said, do the other content creators use/play to the lore, or is it just you? It is totally just me. I just totally do it from my own perspective, usually only in editing. Like, I've never said the word listener or watchers in world, unless it's like, you know, a silly fourth wall break as a content creator. It is totally just a self-indulgent story and fun little project for me. Yeah, none of the other creators, I've never asked them to participate in it in any way. Never asked for their feedback, never, you know, none of that. That's too much burden to put on other people. And also, the series is supposed to be, you go in each week, you play for 3 hours, that's it. It's supposed to be an easy to record, slightly harder to edit way of making content, rather than doing these long build projects that require strip mining and planning and building and narrative building. It all just kind of happens. Would we count all of your lore as canon? No. Like, this is why I've called it an alternate universe, is because there was some confusion in the community about if what I was doing was canon, because I was around when the Watchers were introduced and I was the writer for the listeners. Yeah, that's why we've had that distinction made, because a lot of other people have their own interpretations of the Watchers and stuff like that. And I think some people, for some reason, felt as though I was encroaching on that, even though I've never said that it's canon beyond my own content. You know what I mean? Like, that's that. Why did Etho not upload his last 2 sessions? To my knowledge, he did a tweet, right, saying he was going to condense them down into one video and then put them out together as like one long episode. Since the Watchers listeners feed on emotions, there's also Grian. Yeah, but only a bit. And also, where Grian can exist outside of the life bubble, if you will, he goes and just feeds on other people in other worlds between games and stuff like that. He doesn't need to, like, he's trying not to cause any more hurt in the world that he's inhabiting and trying to free people from. Was the fading screen when everyone was laughing after episode 6, the Warden versus Wither episode, live series Martyn losing control out of anger or something? Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think there was some residual Watcher influence there. I think it wasn't necessarily them speaking through him. It was more just, I think he's been a bit tainted there. And also, I think just character Martyn in general, when he's in those environments, he does get kind of that bloodlust. Like, he's very hard-coded. Just like he plays the same most times. He's always a bit of a wanderer. He's always a bit of a loner. He has tentative allyships, but only if they benefit him. Which is why you see that repeating behavior. What do the Watchers think of Scar? I don't think they have any major feelings about Scar. I think they like that Scar always makes things difficult for himself. They enjoy watching that struggle and stress. Like, he's always, like, ripping people off. He's always putting a target on his back. He's always, you know, making things difficult for himself. Like, he's one of the more consistent feeds that they get. and that's why they like having him in there. Is character Martyn aware that Grian is a watcher? No. No. So are the people that that get a substitute because of a trauma closer to Shattering than others? No, not necessarily. It's just their repair period takes longer. Like I think the sort of the stamina gauge, if you will, for when a player is ready to re-enter the life series is almost a separate thing to the fragments and people getting fragmented. Yeah, they're slightly different parameters because they're all equally fragmented. They've all played in the same amount of games for the most part. I guess really the players that have had time off are probably less fragmented than the others. So like Mumbo is probably less fragmented because he's not been in as many series, but although I don't know, I guess thinking about it, if he has to have time off to repair, then maybe his fragment is actually larger from, like, so say if he was in Last Life like I was, and then he had to have a break after it for numerous seasons, maybe it's a case of actually the fragment was much larger, so the number of individual fragments is the same, it's just that his one was bigger. I like that idea. I like that. Is there a lore explanation as to why Scar got several tasks making him the villain of the server? Just the Watchers being the Watchers, isn't it? it's all of the tasks are hand selected. You know, it's posed to the players as being random, but I think the Watchers are doing as the Watchers will and making people's life as hard as they can for their own enjoyment and their own snacking. Is character Grian aware of fragmentation? He is, yeah. Which is why he's working so desperately to try and to save his friends and to try and spare them that fate. Ooh, Bigby talks to 2 armor stands with pumpkin heads at the start of his 7th episode, similar to how you did in Last Life. Is that the Watchers or just Bigby being Bigby? I kind of want to say that's just Bigby being Bigby. Let's have a look at it. Let's see what kind of conversation he has with them. Bigby, episode 7.
Hey, what's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Secret Life, which
Secret
I can't
Life.
believe I'm still agreeing. Oh wait.
Wait, hold on. Where's that other music playing from? Yep. Pause that a sec.
I'm not a green name anymore. I'm yellow, which I actually died by Scar, which was an accident. I know, but just know I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. Because, you know, it was a lot of Warden and Wither business going on, which it got really, really scary. Bartholomew, what do you think? Oh, wait. You don't think. Oh, okay. All right. I won't talk to you. I'll talk to Bob instead. Bob, what do you think about me being yellow? Yeah? How does it suit me? Does it look any different?
I think this is just Bigby just descending into madness a little bit. I bet the Watchers are feasting here. I bet they're loving it.
Thanks, Bob. I appreciate the compliments. I just want you to know you have very nice pumpkin pie hair.
Yeah, I don't think there's any crazy lore thing going on here. I think it's just Bigby being Bigby and just becoming unhinged. The whole changed him. It did.
What do we got?
Damn. Yeah, I think that's all there is to that. Interesting. Like me in the Southlands, I think the one with me in the Southlands, they were actually kind of speaking back. Like that was a whole nother level to it. Is there an explanation on how Pearl ended up on Evo? She just kind of fell from the sky and decided to stay. Not really, I guess. No, I've not really thought about that before. I guess she just sort of existed. I mean, I kind of like the idea that just... I mean, I don't know. Can we look at Pearl's first episode? Did she actually fall from the sky, or was it more just she just did her first episode and she was stood in spawn? Where is it? Pearl Evo 1. This will be a throwback. Oh, yeah, she fell from the sky. Hold on. Actual skyfall. Look at this.
Oh my goodness. Oh my god. What on earth are you doing here?
Hello. Nice to see you.
Hello.
I kind of just decided
to
to
see
stop
you.
by.
It's weird seeing you in your Steve skin.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what's going on here.
How does it feel being a dude?
I feel like I'm missing a few things. But otherwise,
Good joke.
it's pretty chill.
Welcome to Evo. That's right, everybody. Pearlescent Moon is the newest member of the Evo SMP, and I hope you're going to add to the building side of things. Just looking around spawn, most of the stuff is built by me and Z that looks good, but then you've got like the old Evo news team over there that could really use an update.
Dude, I wish I'd practiced my building more during this. Like, Evo came at a time in my life when I was doing a lot of stuff. Like, I was away at a lot of conventions. I was doing 3 episodes a day. I was doing like a Zelda, a Mario, and then an Evo episode. Like, I was doing a lot. I really wish I'd given more sort of love and care to Evo. But then sometimes maybe that's just the way the dice was supposed to roll. You know what I mean? But yeah, interesting. But yeah, no major thoughts on how Pearl came into it. I love a lot of people saying like Pearl jumped off the moon. I like that. I mean, that's quite funny. Does character Martyn remember Evo, or specifically the property police, since the task force is similar? Yeah, he does. Yeah. The only thing he doesn't remember from that period is how Grian vanished. That's some slight memory alteration or extraction that the Watchers have done. So he remembers his time there, he remembers Grian being there, but not really the rest of it. Property Patrol became Paw Patrol. Dude, I love that. As a dad of as a dad of 2, and one of them loving Paw Patrol, I'm all on board with that. That's good. Martyn, when all these storylines happen in Secret Life, was there any plan for them? The storylines felt so great. It felt very... The storylines felt so great and it feels very instinctive. I genuinely, hand on heart, every season is all improv. It's all improvised. People develop stories as things are going on. But yeah, it's all improvised. There'll be narratives that build as time goes on, but again, that is just people deciding to couple up together, become groups, and then any clashes between each of them is like that. Like, so yeah, even like the Heart Foundation, you don't go into any given season being like, right, okay, like Big B, me and Skiz, you know, as in, if I'm pretending to be Tango right now, but like, you know, he didn't go in going, right, me, Skiz and Big B, we're gonna do this heart thing and do this, that, and this, that, and the other. Like, I imagine one of them probably had the idea of making the concept of the Heart Foundation, as in like, it would be funny if we all gave our hearts to one person each week and did a lottery. That was probably the extent of that thought, but the actual, you know, recruitment and the base and everything like that, all improv. Again, that's what we've been trying to do with the live series, is they all work on these huge SMPs like Hermitcraft and stuff like that, where they have to do a lot of planning and commitment and time and grind and everything. And Grian wanted something for himself as well as everybody else, where people could just decompress and just play for fun, practice some improv and stuff like that. And soon you'll be. Sure. Martyn for Hermitcraft. Wow. Wow. I do not see that happening anytime soon. So put a stop to that one. Not even put a pin in that one. Just put a stop in that one entirely. Oh, man. During the crossover to Empire, Scar said he thought it was the portal to the next life season. Is it still a dream, or can the players be in multiple places at once? Ooh, that's an interesting one. I mean, I guess, again, this is one of those things where it's like people will say stuff in their own POVs and stuff like that. I guess I've been trying to restrict the story to what I, as character Martyn, witness, if that makes sense. I'm not going to be able to account for every contradiction and stuff like that happens. Because I guess in my head, in my story, people are dreaming of being in Hermitcraft and Empires and whatever else during that restorative period. So would they have an awareness in that dream of the life series? I mean, I guess maybe they would. Maybe that's a comfort. Maybe that's what helps heal them, is if their mind thinks that it is just a game they play every so often. You know what I mean? I guess that kind of makes sense, right? Like, they're dreaming in Hermitcraft, and then they almost see going through the portal as like going off to play a fun little game, and then coming back out and stuff. I don't know. It's all a bit messy when you go between servers and realms and worlds and stuff. Does Martyn know about the data stream from Dreams? Ooh. Ooh. No comment. It'll be in the comic. that one I can only explain with full details. I can only explain that with full details. It's close. You're in a ballpark. You're in a ballpark. Rewording of the question from earlier on. In Evo, Jimmy did a task for the listeners that he'd had to keep a secret. Do you think that secret life would remind him of that, or would he not have thought of doing that task for the listeners? I think that's just a distant memory for him, honestly. I think that's just a distant memory. I don't think he'll have really pulled... I don't think he would have put 2 and 2 together, really. What do you think about all the winners being the ones who didn't follow the theme of the season? Grian allying with Red, Scott refusing to boogie, Pearl being alone and trying to hurt her soulmate, etc, etc. But I mean, I guess Scar wasn't going against the rules, really, was he? He failed a few tasks and he succeeded a few. I don't think he was, you know, vehemently against the concept of the season. Is the boogie curse caused by listeners or watchers because following the task heals you? It would be that's a watchers thing, right? Oh, he broke the rules on the very first episode, though. What was the fail again? So how was it he failed his first one in the first episode? Was it a blatant? Was it like a defiant fail, or was it more an accidental fail? He told his secret. I think that's just an accident. I think that's all it is. Yeah, I think that was just an accident. Does every player give the watchers something they desire, like Jimmy's struggle getting out early and Scar making enemies? I think the watchers, they've now studied the players numerous times. And the thing I always say as well is that I always like to think that there are other games that happen in between the ones that you see in content. So that there's other things going on in between. And maybe that's more in a dream state. I don't know. Maybe scrap that. Ignore everything I just said in the last 10 seconds. That's dumb. That one is not going on the Google Doc. I think we've kind of exhausted all of the big questions now, it seems. People are asking more just kind of like specific questions about what do the watchers think of this character or that character. But mechanically, are we all squared away for Secret Life now? So in my Google Doc, I've got that that overarching question about Grian being remembered as becoming a watcher is just they took that one memory. It's the one time they've decided to do that. The Secret Keeper logo, I really like the idea of. The Canary curse isn't broken, it was simply disrupted. Grian couldn't cash in because his power struggle with the Watchers caused him to lose focus, and that's why he couldn't press the button initially and ended up in this weird limbo purgatory sort of state for a moment. Scar wins but is stuck there until eventually they decide to hit lights out on him. Gem was brought in by the listeners to help alleviate sort of the trauma from other players, but then she was kept in and basically made an example of to taunt the listeners. And then the new fragment on me is on the neck. I think that's everything. I think we've kind of ticked all the boxes. Did the Secret Keeper try to make Scar a villain because they knew that it would be fun for the Watchers? So just to clarify, from my perspective, the Secret Keeper and the Watchers is one and the same. That's just the title they gave themselves in world to the players. It's not a separate person, or it's not a separate being. It's you got your two Watchers that are playing these death games or organizing these death games, and that's that. So what's the Mumbo coal miner curse? What's that one? Is that just there? He always dies after Timmy. Is that what that is? Can the readers be a thing? So in a minute, I've got the watchers and the listeners. And then the speakers is a third party that I want to introduce at some point, and I'm not sure entirely how. And then I guess a collective for their beings or their people is... It needs a name. I'll have to come up with some cool, like, god ethereal sounding name. But there is something known as the council that kind of govern everything. So that's all I've got so far. Do the two watchers have a specific character like names and stuff? Not currently, no. We've only ever heard from them directly. I guess when they spoke to character Martyn at the end of Last Life, and then when they spoke at the end of Evo, and that was kind of it. I don't think we're going to explore all the senses, by the way. I think it is the... I like the hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil thing. The vibe that gives. I'm telling you, the smellers and the tasters are coming. Nope. Are there 3 watchers? There's 2. And then Grian is technically the 3rd, but he has left their ranks and it's just his own existence. Martyn, you said about players being fragmented in their own pocket of void, but not Grian. Can Grian, for example, come to those unconscious fragment members and try to maybe wake them up? He can't. And the issue with the reason he can't is because 1, he's outnumbered, and 2, he hasn't fully learned what he can do and his powers. He was kind of brought into this existence by the Watchers kind of illegally, really, because the Watchers have sort of exiled themselves from the council and everything, and that whole community, if you will. So them bringing Grian on board was risky for them because they were trying to start to flesh out their own numbers. They realized they were gaining no favor with you know, their equals, if you will. They brought Grian on. Grian learned how to do XYZ, like learned how to use the abilities to an extent, but certainly not enough to now surpass 2 watchers working together against Grian's might. But that's where the listeners come in, and that balance is starting to even out. But again, we don't know how many listeners there are either. Is there a reason that they picked the members they did, assuming the Evo ones are picked because they were an Evo, but is there a reason for the rest of them? I think... I mean, really, I think what it's been is... It's all been by association, right? So it's these people have been plucked from different worlds. And I guess if you imagine, like, you know, there's almost like a multiverse, it's ever expansive. When, you know, someone's floating through the void and they're repairing and they have a dream about existing somewhere else, that version of somebody must exist somewhere. And I wonder if they just pluck that person. I guess I've not really thought about that too extensively. Like, what do you think? What are your guys' thoughts on that? As in how or why they select the players they do? I think they pick players that complement and would slot into the world effectively. But I don't know as to the reasoning as to why they choose them. I like to think that they're so unbothered about who they pick in terms of, like, what gap they will leave behind. It's more about filling a space that would suit their needs. You know what I mean? They don't care about if they're breaking up a family or a friendship or a marriage or, you know, a dependency. They just go, right, we need a player whose strengths are XYZ. So, for example, Gem, they were like, right, we need somebody who can corral a group, has stronger PvP capabilities than some of the people in our roster currently, and, you know, going from there with it. And they've just sort of done a scan of the universe, if you will, and just gone, that one will do, bam. There's no discussion, there's not really too much deliberation on it. It's just they have, you know, qualifiers in their head and they just grab them. Does Grian know fully how the live series works? Like, for example, there's the Secret Keeper was the other 2 watchers. Yeah. He has full awareness of everything in every situation. He's the only player that does, because he's not technically a player. He's a thing. I need to come up with a cool name. I need that cool name for what the watchers, the listeners, the council, Grian, what they are. I need like a cool like name for them. I like the idea that dreams in one MC world are real worlds elsewhere. Like how dreaming was linked to world hopping in the Empire's crossover a bit. World can be both dreams in your AU and real worlds in their own stories. Yeah, interesting. Why was Lizzie picked? I mean, I like the idea that Lizzie was picked just purely because Joel was in the world and they knew they could get a rise out of Joel with her being there. Like, so as much as they're often quite dismissive and they don't care what they break up, maybe in that instance they were like, oh, actually, if we are just breaking up these things, which normally we don't care about, how sweet would it be to see someone's, you know, significant other perish? Married in every universe. Yeah, that was the theme from last time, wasn't it? Yeah. Why was it that Lizzie, Mumbo, and Pearl came after everyone else? You described why Gem did, but what about them? It's the same sort of method, right? I guess Lizzie, Mumbo, and Pearl were just added into the games. Gem came in via a more, hopefully remedial route, where the listeners were trying to, you know, alleviate stress and trauma on the players, whereas Lizzie, Mumbo, and Pearl were just plucked from their worlds and dropped into the games as was necessary, because the Watchers simply wanted more players. There's nothing more complex to it than that. I've just seen a few questions in the YouTube chat and I'm like, oof. Some people are saying some things that make sense. I don't want to acknowledge them just yet. Sorry. You'll feel vindicated whenever it comes about. I've had an idea about Lizzie dying first. In her death, she didn't really look at the Enderman, just through Scott's head while he was talking to him. Could it maybe be that the listeners wanted to kill her off before Tim's Canary curse could? We've already kind of explained the Canary curse thing. Pearl was an Australian diversity hire. What the fuck? Doesn't need to be that. When you think about it, the life series lore is sort of like the Fortnite lore. I guess in a way, yeah. Obviously, I can only write stories and ideas based on things that I've ever consumed. There's like, you know, they always say there's no such thing as an original idea. Everything is a recycling, reimagining, or amalgamation of other ideas. There's a theory that when a person wins in the life series, they regain all their memories from the previous series. What are your thoughts on that? Well, I guess in my AU, they've never lost their memories. Would they maybe regain the emotions from the previous series? I don't think so, no. I don't think it benefits the Watchers to give anything back to them. The only thing that I've demonstrated that happens when somebody wins a series is that that fragment is protected. So they keep a piece of themselves when they win. So I think I'll keep it as that for now. That's what I've demonstrated and shown, and I think that's where I will like bookend it. How did Martyn get the attention of the Watchers? Why are they so interested in him in all the life series? Ignoring that you're the main character of your own series. I honestly haven't even thought about that much, honestly. They don't pay character Martyn any special attention within the life series, more so than anybody else. There's kind of equal share with that, but yeah, I'm not sure, because he was in Evo just like everybody else. I guess I've not really sort of thought about that or settled on it. I guess really from everybody else's own POV, they are probably just as much of a main character in their story as I am in mine, you know what I mean? So I guess it doesn't need an explanation. It's just it's the word Sonder, right? I love the word Sonder. So the word Sonder, let me get the definition up for it, because it's not even recognized as a real word. But Sonder is basically the profound feeling of realizing that everyone, including strangers passing in the street, has as complex a life as one's own, which they are constantly living despite one's personal lack of awareness of it. Like the whole live series and data stream and everything like that is all very Sonder. Everybody else is a supporting role in my story and vice versa. It's very specific, but I love that word. You'll have moments of feeling Sonder or Sonderous. I don't know what the feeling of it is in a word. But you'll have moments like that in life. I have them way too often. Now that I know the word, I do have moments like that. It's kind of the equivalent of what you do when you're people watching, right? Like, do you ever do it where you just sit there and go, I think that they are a dentist, I reckon they've done X, Y, Z, and you always say like what you think they look like their name is and what their job is and stuff like that. But when you then think like, oh my god, they've had like probably 20 birthdays and they've had heartbreak and they've had love and they've had, you know, the first time they rode a bike, like they have as many intricate and in detail thoughts and insecurities and everything as you do. Like, it hurts my head, dude. There's 7 billion movies happening in unison, and somebody passes you in the street and you don't even look them in the eye a lot of the time, and all they are is just like a chunk of meat walking past you, but they populate your consciousness and your world, even for that fleeting moment, but they are just as intricate as you are. It's nuts. It's one of those ones where it makes you feel this big, you know, when, because like some people get that feeling when they see those videos where it keeps zooming out from Earth and you see how big, you know, all of known spaces or theoretical spaces. Yeah, it's it's a bit existential, isn't it? Have you thought about calling the plane the Veil? It's a bit generic, isn't it? The Veil. I need to come up with a name for what the Watchers and everything else out in the plane are, and I need to decide what the plane itself is called. It could just be called the plane. I don't know. Does bloodthirstiness from Traffic Martyn carry over to Pirate Martyn? I guess somewhat, yeah. They're intrinsically linked, so they're always going to behave pretty similarly. Are there any snakes on the plane? I don't think so. I guess the Watchers consider Grian a bit of a snake. You know what I mean? Who the hell is Traffic Martyn? So Traffic Martyn... So for those of you that don't know, a lot of people that speak about the life series generally will use the Twitter hashtag TrafficTWT, or on Tumblr they'll do TrafficBLR, which stands for Traffic Blur or Tumblr, and then Traffic Tweet, which is just like a categorization of what the SMP is. So it's a way to speak about the life series as a whole. You call it just the Traffic Life series because of the red, yellow, green for the hearts. It's a really cool little categorization for it. But yeah. What do you think about people saying that Scar is the Watcher's favorite? Like, in my telling of the story, there's no favorites. It's just, you know, everything is like, to them, it's just cattle. Horribly. Sorry, I'm looking at 2 chats and just trying to pluck out questions or comments. In lore, how do the players know what the gimmick of the season is? It typically just is implanted in their head. They're put in and it happens, and that's that. Like, do we have it that when Grian does these intro videos, that's him explaining to everybody what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, we almost get like a cinematic or whatever, an equivalent that appears on the screen. But maybe, can you imagine, like, we're all stood around Spawn in the middle and Grian explains it and we're just getting a visual of that explanation moment? Like, you could look at it that way. Or is it, like I was saying earlier on, it's just they kind of appear in the world and bam, everybody knows what the crack is. They don't know how they know, and they don't even linger on it to think of why they know. They just know they're playing another game and they don't ask questions. And I think that's what a lot of it is. It's this weird vacant compliancy. Is that a real phrase? vacant compliancy. It's that kind of not even thinking to ask questions, just going along with it because we know how this thing pans out. Each time we come back again, we play another game. Like, you know what I mean? It almost feels like a, you know, it is just a field trip in a game for them. No thoughts, empty head, just playing death game. Yeah. I love taking stuff I like from your lore and twisting the other stuff. It's very fun. I don't have to take everything, but I don't have to create the wheel either. Yeah, dude, honestly, use all my ideas and this collaboration as like a jumping off point for your own stuff. 100%. I just like having you guys part of the writing because it's all, you know, I don't think in this situation too many cooks spoil the broth. I actually think that I'm quite adamant about what I do and don't want to let pass through, but having a lot more people there that can fact check and contradiction check and all that sort of stuff, I like this. I quite enjoy that this is a collaborative process. I really, really like it. Because I know that I'm no kind of author. That's the big thing about it, right? Is that there are people that write these really elaborate stories and they write entire scenes of conversation and diary entries and stuff. Like, you guys have so much more narrative experience than I do. My focus in my life has been, you know, making short form things for like the radio, like short little games and stuff like that, or you know, a lot of the Christmas Adventure, I didn't really write any of that. I kind of was almost like a producer on it later on in the latter seasons, but I've often just played other people's stories rather than anything else. Do the players remember the past series? Yeah, they do. They retain the memories but not the emotions, which allows them to go into each one educated but not angry or upset or whatever else. It allows for a relatively clean slate, but it adds that complication of being like, oh, well, I know this person is capable of doing that, so maybe I keep them at arm's length, which adds a really interesting stacking effect as time goes on. Is there any lore between Scar and Grian always being put together? They're not put together. They just find one another. Like I said, the way that I am similar in Pirates as I am in Rats, as I am in the Life series, you know, and how Scott is the same in each season. Every season he's defiant of, you know, the wider rule set. Like, it's just people are kind of hard coded, and the way that Joel like finds Lizzie and stuff like that, it all just kind of goes. This is very reminiscent of the Fate storyline with the gods and whatnot. Is Fate is that the comic? Fate comics. Is Fate a comic or is it something else? Fate series, here we go. Fate series is a Type Moon media collective. My goodness. I don't think I've ever even heard of this. Would the reason Mumbo needed longer to repair time be due to the trauma of his best friend Grian killing him, or maybe, and also maybe the incident in the gas farm? Probably a mix of both, yeah. Mix of everything. It's just that collective trauma. Right. I think, chat, that we are done. I think we've covered everything. I feel as though we're just asking a lot of like sort of floaty questions now. I feel like we've hit all the main narrative points. If you think there's something major mechanically that I haven't covered in this stream, then feel free to let me know. Best way to do that is via Tumblr, and I would love to see on Tumblr, Twitter, wherever, I would love to see where you think each player's fragments are on their body based on each season. I would love to see your thoughts on that. I'm trying to think of what tag you should use. Honestly, I guess you can use the eyes and ears tag. It might flood out a bunch of my stuff. Yeah, maybe you can whack him in eyes and ears. That'll be fine. But I think that's where we're gonna watch it for today. Is Watcher lore linked to the data stream lore? It is. And I intend on trying to reveal that via a comic, which we'll do some crowdfunding for maybe in the new year. I would love to finally make apparent how it's all linked and stuff, because that'll be fun to do. But yeah, I think we're all sorted. As we're departing, just wanted to say thank you for all the support this season. Oh yeah, that's a good shout actually. Maybe instead of tagging it eyes and ears, do it eyes and ears, and then also do AEA Fragments. I like that. I like AEA Fragments as a tag on Tumblr. Why not? Let's do that. I like the idea of that. Yeah, eyes and ears. So EAE Fragments on Tumblr. That would be cool. Will you save this stream? Yep, this will be staying up on here, Xenia, for sure. But yeah, so that is me done for today. Just before we head off, I do have a brand new video that has literally just gone live on the channel. So if you watched New Life earlier on this year, then you might be interested to know what my third life was. And if you aren't aware of the story of my second life, then that is also something that is revealed. So basically, I reveal what my second and third life are in this video. So if you want to go and check that out right now, then please feel free to do so. Second and third life revealed. It's a sponsored video. If you can engage with the content in the description and press the links and get the launcher and all that sort of stuff, that'd be magnificent. This is the sort of stuff that keeps me going and keeps me financially afloat. That would be great. So I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you so much for watching, and back into the data stream, I guess. Like I said, any additional questions, throw them over on Tumblr. If somebody wants to send me a Tumblr ask right now saying, what was the tag for Fragments, then I can reply to that and use that as like the megaphone for the EAE Fragments, just to sort of see what people theorize. That'd be sick. And yeah, if you want to talk about this lore to any extent, then use eyes and ears as the hashtag on Tumblr or Twitter, then I can find it easily. And one final bark for the big dog.
Dog's all right. Here you go. Oh, oh!